Hello, welcome to my channel, Another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and today I am going to be talking a little bit about Cormac McCarthy's two new novels, The Passenger and Stella Maris. Specifically, I want to give a little bit of a guideline to people who may be on the fence whether they want to read these books or not. Essentially asking, do you want to take a pass on The Passenger? And I'm not going to go into a deep dive. I'm not going to give a whole lot of plot summaries. I'm just going to give my opinion on whether this book is the type of book that you are going to want to read. So, I have finished both of these novels. I read this one, The Passenger, last month, and I read Stella Maris last week. And this is the book that McCarthy has been working on for a very long time. It is marketed as a novel. And technically, yes, it is a novel. However, if you want to read a novel that has a plot line and has characters and follows the story to a conclusion, this is not going to be that kind of book. This is a book that another booktuber has described as a novel or an essay in novel form. It is McCarthy talking about a lot of subjects that he wants to talk about. He talks about the Vietnam War. And when I was discussing this book with my live stream, someone mentioned that incident, that chapter, reminded them a whole lot of the movie Full Metal Jacket, which was based on the novel The Short Timers by Gustav Hasselford. And that's, yeah, I didn't realize it at the time, but after someone mentioned that to me, so yeah, that is McCarthy's take on the Vietnam era, sort of as seen through the guise of what it'd be like to witness Vietnam through a movie, which is kind of odd because I think he's old enough to have definitely been through that age himself. There is also talk about the Kennedy assassination. And that was a very bizarre chapter because it added nothing new to the theories of the Kennedy assassination. It was just rerunning some old ground. And in my personal opinion, not very interesting ground. But it's told through a character's point of view, so you're getting a character's view of the Kennedy assassination, which may or not be what McCarthy believes about the Kennedy assassination. And then you have the main character, Bobby Western. He is a diver who goes out to visit a plane wreck in the middle of the night that's underwater. And essentially the story is that they discover bodies in there, but as he learns later, one body and the black box are missing. That is the setup for a thriller, but this is not a thriller because McCarthy isn't, and this is sort of a little spoilerish, isn't going to tell you the answer to that story because Bobby never learns the answer to that story. And Bobby gets wrapped up with, let us just say, government plots. That the government wants him not to do something, not to say something, never quite sure. This is the view of the mysterious government, the government that is pulling the strings behind people. And to me, I'm just not into that government conspiracy theory. But most of all, he is setting up incidents to be discussed in college classrooms. There is a character, his sister, who is suffering from mental illness, and she has delusions of a character, the formaldehyde kid. And that's, of course, the drug that made flipper babies. And this is a flipper baby that's talking to her in her imagination. Or is it her imagination? There are some people who've read this book to say that the kid is a messenger bringing her real information. And I could see a college professor asking the students to read this book and saying, okay, divide up into camps. Who believes the kid is a messenger? Who believes the kid is folie à deux, which is a delusion shared by two people? Because later in the book, Bobby Western hallucinates about the kid. So there you have a question, and you can discuss that question in a college classroom, and you can have the class going back and forth. Messenger, folie à deux. Which one is it? What does McCarthy believe? And then you pick up Stella Maris and read that. And that gives, at least in my opinion, a little more of an answer to that question. And you go, students, now that you've read Stella Maris, do you still believe in your original supposition? And some students are going to go, yes. Some people go, no. So it might be switching over. So that's the kind of book this is. This is a book that people are going to want to study. They're going to want to take notes and match up notes to different parts of the book and see if they gel, see if they cohere, and what you can suss out of what was going in McCarthy's brain. As for a story, I think this lacks a lot as a novel. As a novel in essay form or essay in novel form, there may be a lot more to it. But you have to want to read that kind of book. You have to pick it up and say, I want to take notes. I think this is the kind of book that the people who love to annotate are going to love, because they're going to be writing in the margins and taking annotations and saying, on page 28, there is a reference to something on page 76 or something. Those are just made up numbers. Now you can see I took some post-it notes in here, and I do not annotate ever under any circumstances. And there was a lot of cases where I wanted to mark this book and highlight things. So that's the kind of book that you are going to experience with The Passenger. Stella Maris is, again, the kind of book that doesn't tell a whole lot of story, but it has lots of interesting details and facts that you're going to want to annotate again. And this one really should not have been published as a separate novel. This is really part of The Passenger. You cannot read Stella Maris as a standalone novel. It is a continuation, or maybe better yet, a coda for The Passenger. So you have to be willing to accept that. So, are you going to pass on these two books? Here's my general assumption. If you want to take a lot of notes, if you want to study the details of books and think about how you would discuss them in a college classroom, these are books that you'll probably enjoy a lot. At least one other reviewer on BookTube has said The Passenger is McCarthy's best novel. I don't agree with that by a long shot. I think this is a step above The Road and No Country for Old Men. And those are McCarthy's two worst books, in my personal opinion. I know some people do like those two books, but I don't think those two books matched up to his earlier novels like Child of God or Blood Meridian and even Suttree. But who knows? If you want to take notes and annotations, you'll probably really get into these books because there's a lot of depth and nuggets for you to suss out. So there you go. I hope that will give you enough information to decide whether you want to pass on The Passenger. Thank you for watching. Keep on reading.